Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Property Doctor podcast. You'll notice if you're listening on audio that there's no fancy theme tune this time. I've decided to ditch that and just go straight into it because most people skipped over it anyway. But please do remember, whether you're listening or watching, to like, share and subscribe and follow Andrew_Threadgold on Instagram. Anyway, this episode today is really fascinating. I'm speaking to a wonderful woman called Katherine Graves, who runs a hypnobirthing company. It's a fascinating story. She's a fascinating woman. She's gone absolutely viral multiple times on social media. She's known the world over. And when you're talking to her, she's just a normal lady from Middle England somewhere who really is passionate about what she does and the benefit that it can bring. Now, for standard, legacy medics like myself, hearing somebody talk about complementary therapies is sometimes against the grain. But to be fair, she puts a great case over, and actually her heart is really in a good place, and what she says makes an awful lot of sense. So I would very much encourage you to watch it. Follow Katherine on her social media, see if you can spot which videos are going virus. And above all else, watch, enjoy, and hopefully, like me, you might learn something, because I found it was absolutely fascinating. Anyway, take care and see you next time. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Property Doctor podcast. This week, we've got a rather special guest. We've got Katherine Graves from KG Hypnobirthing. It's promising to be a very interesting conversation, this, because I'd like to know quite a bit about Katherine's business as it stands, but also the challenges that come with growing a business in a profession such as healthcare, where they are typically quite resistant to outside ideas and alternative ways of doing things. But before we go into all that, how are you doing, Katherine?
I am doing very well. Like most of the time, as like most of us, rushed off my feet because I've happened to have been teaching a course in Northern Ireland.
Right.
I'm just in Northern Ireland this week. It wasn't actually for midwives. There's a wonderful organisation in Northern Ireland called Sure Start, and
Right.
it supports families. It seems to be very well funded. It almost seemed to me as if the Northern Ireland healthcare has more resources than the English one.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. But it was people who called themselves family support workers from all
Right.
over Northern Ireland, and they
Mm.
were training in order that they can also offer the hypnobirthing course to parents. So it wasn't an organisation that gives antenatal, classes or anything like that. It's just general family support, and it was really interesting. It was
Mm.
such a good thing.
That's interesting.
Anyway,
So, sorry to interrupt. So,
no,
well, before we go on, for those that don't know, would you mind, and I'll probably learn something here too, would you mind explaining to everybody listening what hypnobirthing is and your role within it?
hypnobirthing is a course for pregnant women, which they do while they're pregnant, uh, to help them have a more comfortable, more straightforward, probably quicker birth, the sort of birth that every woman would want and can have if she sets it up right.
Hmm.
It's
Okay.
amazing. It is such a privilege to do it and see the difference it makes to people's lives. So I've been doing it for 20 years. Um, and I've also written a book called the Hypnobirthing Book. And I've trained loads of other hypnobirthing teachers, KG hypnobirthing teachers, to teach the course which I have devised. So
Hmm.
probably overall, we have taught literally thousands of women. People train in it internationally too, because we run the trainings on Zoom. Sometimes I go to other countries, but not very often. Um, and it makes me so sad that every woman doesn't have this facility to give birth and how she gives birth, because you hear so much about birth trauma.
Mm-hmm.
There is an over 50% cesarean rate.
Right.
There is an over 50% induction rate. And those are the women who have the trauma. And it's unnecessary. But when you
Mm.
have a course, they sort of, when you say hypnobirthing, actually, we'll get, well, pretty well known throughout the NHS now. But somebody who hasn't heard of it before said, "Oh, you're going to hypnotize me." Um, but that's what it is. I think we have. Well, we were the first UK company that did it, and I think we're the biggest, possibly the biggest worldwide. I don't know because it's very
Wow.
difficult to say.
Yeah.
But I do know I get recognized if I go into a hospital. Occasionally, I even get recognized on the London Underground, which is truly amazing.
And how did you end up getting into hypnobirthing in the first place?
Well, like most things that happen in life, a load of coincidences.
Right.
I don't think, I mean, I know we're told we ought to plan, and absolutely right, we should. But I don't think that's how things really happen. You have to do the planning, and then your life shoots off in another direction. Um, and I came to it. Um, I started my career when I was 50. I have 4 children, and that's virtually a full-time job. And then they all grow up, and you haven't got anything left. You haven't got. I was divorced by then. I had no income, no money, no qualification. So you have to do something. Um, and you can either stack shelves in Tesco's, or you can get off your backside.
Yeah.
And like many older women who come to a career new or want a new career, um, I found myself doing various complementary therapies, which I could list, but it would probably be rather boring. But the one I ended up doing most of was hypnotherapy.
Right.
And like many professions, you have to do a little bit of extra training every year. And about the third year, I couldn't think what to do. So I'd done weight loss and I'd done stress release and all this stuff. And a colleague said, "Why don't you go to this hypnobirthing class?" I thought it was rather good. So I went along, not because I particularly wanted to, but I had to do something.
Mm.
Um, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I thought it was amazing. Um, and I introduced it into my hypnotherapy practice, and it took over my life because
Wow.
it's so lovely.
Wow.
So that's how I started.
Wow. And I mean, that is so you've got a whole life before you even started hypnobirthing. Like
Well,
you.
most women are desperate to get to a certain status in their career before they have their babies,
Mm.
which is one way of looking at it, but um, does make it harder to get pregnant actually at that age, apart from anything else.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly possible to do it the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, this is wonderful. It's so inspiring to because most people, like I'm 48 and so rapidly approaching 50, and
Hmm,
I think I get the impression I'm running out of time. You know, I've got so much I want to do, but you started
exactly. So do I.
but you started a whole new chapter of your life
Yes.
at that
So
age.
when I was 60, I was 10 years into my career, where somebody else might have been when they were 30.
Yeah,
Um, so it really doesn't matter.
yeah.
Uh, um, and people are retiring, those who sadly have a job which they hate so much they actually want to retire. Um, but they're retiring later and later. And the state retirement age will get later and later. It has to, because the
Hmm.
company cannot possibly afford to pay pensions to an aging population who are possibly even retired more than their working life.
Hmm.
I mean, it's crazy. Can't be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we could really go down a rabbit hole there because,
We could. I mean, I think the retirement age shouldn't be anything before 70. Because
well,
there are plenty of people living to 80 and 90.
yeah.
And I mean, having said that, this is a little bit hypocritical because I was one of the very last women to get a state pension at 60
Right.
with a few months. So,
But
so
you
it's
know,
utterly
the
hypocritical, but it's true
but
nonetheless.
yeah, but the thing is that the one of the statistics that I kind of talk about quite a bit is the fact that over 50% of the population take more in benefits than they pay in tax.
It
So
can't go on, can it?
that's the society is not productive enough. It just simply isn't.
Mm,
And the trouble is, out of the 48% that do contribute more, it's a small percentage of those that pay everything, you know?
yes, mainly
So,
men. I remember sitting in the waiting area of a local library, and there were all sorts of posters on the wall. And it said, we must help single mothers, we must help families, we must help gay people, we must help old people, we must help women. And I looked at those posters and I thought, you know, the only people who are left are straight, single men between the ages of 20 and whatever it is, 60. And I thought, you know, they can't afford it.
It's crackers. It is absolutely crackers. Yeah.
No.
So,
Mm.
how did it? So, forgive me. I'd like to understand how you became. You went from being Catherine, the mother of four, starting off with your hypnotherapy
Yes.
business, into this world-renowned thing. So, how did you? Was it? Were you just going initially delivering courses, and it slowly grew and
Well,
grew?
I was
Or?
trained by an American company, and the lady who owned that company claimed that she owned the word and nobody else could use it.
Okay.
And she was fairly, I'm trying not to say dictatorial, but she
All
was
right.
fairly firm about how she wanted to run her company. And the course that we were trained to teach, were supposed to teach in 4 or 5 different evenings or Saturday mornings or something. Well, I live in the depths of a country, and there are not many people here. If I trained sheep, I'd be doing really well, but they don't need me. They've got their act together. So I have to go into London, which is 100 miles to train. Um, so I started to do it in 2 full days in separate weekends, which came to their notice and they didn't like it. And actually, the practical thing to do, I do now the whole course, which can be done in separate parts, in one weekend.
Right.
Because, well, I asked the mums I teach what they wanted. And so they wanted it. I wanted it. So that's what we did. So I was chucked out of the organization.
Really? Right.
Yes, because
Yeah,
I
a bit
wasn't
rebel,
doing
are
as
you?
I was, a bit like you.
Yes.
I wasn't doing as I was told.
Yeah.
Um, but it was how I earned my living. Um, I couldn't use material I'd been taught because I would have been in breach of copyright. So I had to very, very quickly write my own course.
Oh, okay.
The principles are the same, but the material is different. That's fine. And then there's a book which you give out so that couples can look things up afterwards. And I was buying the book from a lady who had chucked me out, which rather went against the grain.
Mm.
So I felt I needed to write my own book. So I did. I'm useless at writing books. I sort of sat down in front of the screen and I sat down in front of a piece of paper and nothing came out. So all I did was I recorded my course, transcribed it, and then diverted it, changed it a bit, so it's a book, um, which has sold incredibly well. And then people asked me to train them, so I trained them, which I've been told this is a silly thing to do because you'll train your competition, which is absolutely true. But it also, when you need income badly, you do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think, and then we were doing very well, and then of course lockdown hit.
Mm.
I'm not saying COVID hit because I don't think COVID did hit, but lockdown certainly did.
Mm. Mm.
Um, so all of us had to suddenly go on Zoom and organize how we're doing. And, you know, you could put people on furlough and all that sort of stuff. When it came back again, the world was different. Uh, so I found that we had been traveling all over the country doing courses for people to train as teachers. Now they wanted to do it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
The mums probably still wanted to do a face-to-face course because it's more personal when you're pregnant.
Right.
And one of my people I'd trained put out a pre-recorded online course. Well, I didn't do that because I felt it was unethical because I would have been undercutting all the teachers who'd paid me good money to train them.
Mm.
So I didn't do it. And then there were so many online courses that I wasn't saving my teachers from anything at all all I was doing was cutting my own throat financially.
Mm.
So I did that. So now we have an online course as well.
Right. Okay.
So that's what I do. Uh, we have an online course. Occasionally, I'm asked to go somewhere else to teach, which is quite fun. As I say, last week I was in Northern Ireland, which was lovely. And next week, it happens to be a particularly busy month. I'm going to Norway, and we're going to teach over 80 midwives in Norway. I'm going with a colleague. That's rather a big group for one person to deal
Wow.
with.
Wow.
Uh, um, so
And
that'll be
so,
quite fun.
yeah, and I mean, well, there's so many things there that I'd like to pick up on. The before, so the first thing that immediately struck me is the book.
Mm.
Um, I'm a big believer in lead magnets, and we both have a similar philosophy on the
Yes.
way that we can advertise things, I'm sure, because we both like the similar things. Have you found, and was it by design, but did you find that that book drove new customers to you?
Yes. You see, one of the many things I don't know anything about is writing a book and publishing.
Okay.
Um, so I wrote a book.
It
I
didn't
had
seem
it
to stop you
printed.
though.
Well, yeah, I think I've got a fair amount of energy and enthusiasm. I hope I'm moderately intelligent, but it doesn't mean I know about things. So I prepared the book. It was actually there, a physical book. Have I got it? No, I haven't got it here. Didn't have time to bring it in. Otherwise, I would have
I'll put
shown
one
it to
on
you.
the screen for people to see.
um, and I took it to the publisher who publishes all the books in the area in which I work. And he looked at it and he said, well, I think it's good, but not quite good enough. So I thought, well, I'm not going to spend my life touting this book around to publishers. I'll just stick it on Amazon myself.
Right.
Um, and I met him, this nice man. I mean, he's a very nice man, this publisher. I know him fairly well. And I met him 6 months later, or maybe it was only 3 months later. And I said, well, we've sold 5,000 books. Um, what can you do for me? And he said, well, I can't do as well as you're doing for yourself.
Right.
Because if you publish a book with a publisher, you get about 50p or a pound a copy. If you publish it yourself, mind you, Amazon take a huge, great whack, but even so, you get what you get.
Yeah.
And it was the first book, and it was way at the top of Amazon. It has slipped to the second page, partly because there are more books, and partly because the person who was looking after Amazon for us, his mind wandered and he didn't look after it as well as he should have done. So we have fairly recently, just before Christmas, employed a very lovely lady in the Philippines to look after Amazon for us.
Mm.
So hopefully it will now go back, because nothing sells on Amazon if it's not on the first page. Well, we sold some, but not nearly as many as we should do. The sales went down, which is why we need the Amazon the lady in the Philippines, who previously worked for Amazon, actually, so
Right.
she knows a way around it.
Yeah.
Amazon is a wonderful organization, but it's set up for people to buy things. If you sell on Amazon, it's complicated. It's a bit of a nightmare, quite
Is it?
honestly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And
Because it
so,
doesn't matter to them if you sell or not. Me
yeah.
who wants to sell on Amazon, they don't mind if I don't sell my book. They've got hundreds of other books, thousands.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And so from the thousands of people that have bought, downloaded, listened to, read your book, do those people, do a proportion of those then come and want to
A
see?
proportion of me, but Amazon, of course, are very secretive about their contacts, so you don't know who has bought on Amazon.
Right.
You cannot get the contact details. You cannot market to them. But
Mm.
I absolutely know that a proportion do. But for most parents who come to my personal course in London at the moment actually find me on social media.
Right. Okay.
Um, Instagram. It's
Are you
really
big
quite
on the gram, are
funny.
you? Is that what are you
You bet I am. It's where I get my work. I mean, if I speak to my friends my age, they don't know what I'm talking about. But if I want to sell to women in their 30s, I have to speak their language.
That's right, yeah.
And it's another thing I knew nothing about. And one of my colleagues, who I employ, a lovely lady, she was doing it sort of part-time when she had time for me. And then she went on holiday. And the only thing I knew about Instagram and social media is that you're supposed to post regularly and frequently. Didn't know
Yeah.
anything else. Um,
That's the sum total of my knowledge as well.
well, it's apparently all you need to know. Um, so before she went, I said, you just have to tell me how to post a little 1-minute video on Instagram, a reel. So she said, well, get out your phone and I'll explain it to you. And I said, no, I'm going to come down to your house because we all work from home. I'm going to put my phone on your kitchen table. You will say, press this first, and I will make a note of it. Press this second, and I will make a note of it. And there were about sort of half a dozen things maximum that I had to press. And so I went back and did it.
Amazing.
Nothing fancy, sitting in front of my phone, talking for 1 minute. And given that I teach a class which is 12 hours, there are a lot of 1 minutes in 12 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I did it. These 1 minute little videos 3 times a day. Occasionally I don't have the time to, but in general, I do it regularly 3 times a day. Then, being highly sophisticated, I learned how to put subtitles, captions on it too. So that's what I do. It's a bit time consuming. I'm looking at how I can use AI to do this so it doesn't take so much time. It's not the recording that takes time. It's like you said with your podcast, it's for sorting it out afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, I just sit in front of my phone and talk. That's easy. And it grows. It is. This one is really, really, really funny. My biggest post had 7 million views.
Dear me.
I know, I couldn't believe it.
7 million.
7 million, yes. And
You
it's
went
worldwide.
virus.
I know I have as many people following me in America as I have in this country. That you could tell you where the people who look are from, America and the UK. So since then, I've launched my website into America. Just the same as the UK one. It does need amendment, but at the moment I haven't got enough money to amend it. Because I've got all these followers in America. We all know what the UK economy is doing at the moment. And what I do can be regarded as an optional extra. It isn't. It's actually the most important thing that any pregnant woman does, but it's how women view it until they've done it. And I mean, our economy is going to hell in a handbasket, and I can't see it getting any better in the foreseeable future. So I thought, well, I'll focus my marketing on America. So I have, I sometimes say I've digitally emigrated.
I mean, that's phenomenal, though, because it's such a huge market, America, isn't it? You only need a tiny percentage of that to make a
if
huge
I've got as
difference.
many followers in America now as I have in this country, the potential is obviously huge because as a proportion. I haven't actually done anything to market it much yet because we only launched it just before Christmas, and it's another thing that I need some advice on, really. But it's there. It's bringing in income. The first month, it brought in £1,000, which is not a king's ransom, but it's a helpful extra to have to your income.
Yeah.
And I think I'm absolutely sure that if it's well marketed by the end of the year, it should be bringing in considerably more from the UK website. But I need the best advice as to how to go about that.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll find that this year.
I think I will.
Now, honestly, Katherine, that is phenomenal. I'm really like.
And do you know what those 7 million women, the one that got that response, it wasn't really much about what I do. I mean, most of they are, but I just sat down one day and think, what on earth can I say today? And it said something like, basically, that most women feel underestimated.
Right.
When you become a mum, you lose your identity. You become someone's mum, and you stop even having a name. I mean, I'm still, for my children who are adults, so-and-so's mum.
Mm.
And I said, people feel that they've lost their identity, but actually, this is the biggest compliment ever. And it shows what an important job you're doing as a mum. And I put this out when the Queen was still alive. And I said, look at the Queen. She's lost her name.
Mm.
When she was 26, she lost herself and she became the Queen. And she's the most respected woman in the world.
Mm. And the
So
Queen
it's
Mother.
just like that
She lost
being,
her name as well. She became the
she
Queen
lost her
Mother.
name. So I said, being somebody's mum is just like that. And wow, that resounded, I think, with every woman worldwide.
Wow.
So it was truly amazing that every mum worldwide feels underestimated and not valued.
Mm.
And it was quite extraordinary because you can hear the Instagrams coming in, and it was going on my phone, click, 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 all night long, click, click, click. You think that must be America, and then it goes on. You think that must be the Far East, and it was 7 million views on that one.
Dear
But
me.
it was because women do not feel valued. Isn't that
Mm.
interesting? It wasn't
Yeah.
actually about hypnobirthing at all.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I'm sure that you could probably make theories about why it took off. Like you say, it's because women universally feel undervalued
It
or
always helps when you throw in the Queen. People are always interested in the Queen. I mean, I
absolutely.
don't do it on purpose.
Yeah, but there's a hook there, isn't there? And that hook
Yes.
is the emotional resonance that you created with what you said, and it makes perfect sense.
Uh,
But
a few times I've had over 1 million views of my own, but that one was truly breathtaking. I
wow.
couldn't
A few
believe
times. I
it.
think my biggest ever is 250,000, but
Yes,
I've never,
exactly. I'm
yeah.
immensely proud if I get 250,000.
Well, I've
But
got
I
I've got
could
some
not
work to
believe.
do to catch you up, I can assure you. Dear me.
It was
Wow.
breathtaking.
So
But
did that
it
open
was,
up any opportunities for you then? You
I have
must
no
have,
idea.
right? Did you not get
Everybody who
people connecting with
answered,
you or contacting you,
oh,
asking you to do
yes.
stuff?
I've forgotten how many comments I got on that. I do try to reply to all the comments. I'm not sure that I reply to all those comments.
No, I'm
And
sure you
plenty of
couldn't.
people view it and don't comment. But normally, it's a pregnant woman with a problem. Um, and I do my best to help. The trouble is, they follow me on Instagram. I get put out these little snippets, and they say, "Oh, that's wonderful! Thank you so much." And I know perfectly well they've only got a fraction of what they need,
Mm.
and they actually need to download my online course, which gives them everything they need. But they think they've got it, or they don't know they need it. I mean, it's only the online course is only £45 in the UK or $55 in the US. It's not a huge amount of money when
Mm.
you consider the thousands you spend on a buggy or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um,
It's probably
but
a packet
it's
of
only
fags a day for 2 weeks, isn't it? It's not
but
which a lot of
I
people
mean,
do.
some people genuinely it would be very difficult to afford £45 when you're paying what you have to get for a baby.
Yes.
Absolutely. Um, and but for plenty of people, they don't know they want it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And then they have the most terrible trauma. In fact, one of our MPs set up an organization called the Birth Trauma Association. She's very well connected, so it's had lots of good publicity. And I went to see her to see if I could be sort of part of the team that helped to set it up. But what she's interested in, which is a very valid thing, is helping women who've had a traumatic birth.
Right.
What I do is prevent the trauma before they've had it. But she didn't seem terribly interested in that. It wasn't her thing. It's understandable. We all have our thing. The whole purpose of everything I do is give women a efficient and comfortable birth. I haven't got time in the course to go beyond that, and I do want to set up extra courses because talking business wise, I lose my clients the minute they've had their baby.
Mm.
So it's you build a wonderful rapport with people and they're gone. It's not like you develop a relationship. So I need to set up some extra online courses on, I don't know, breastfeeding, feeling lonely after birth, weaning your baby, so
Yeah.
that hopefully we can develop to a subscription service instead of a one-off payment for a course. And we can do lots of more courses that will be interesting to women who've had their baby. But lockdown for us was a terrible, terrible blow financially. We just we hadn't paid for, commissioned a really expensive new website. And it was obvious that we were in dire financial straits. I closed the office we had, and we all worked from home. I made 2 members of staff redundant. I cut back on absolutely everything. I worked my socks off and took virtually no pay myself in order to pay my staff, who are all absolutely wonderful. They tend to be part-time and mums.
Right.
And mums who have small children really value having a job that's flexible. So you'll probably get a better quality of staff because you can accommodate their situation, and therefore they help you. And it's a great system, works for both of us. But I have been crawling back from financial disaster ever since lockdown. My accountant, the first year after, looked at the accounts and obviously felt he was going to break the news to me that we ought to fold.
Right.
But so I went into a you ought to fold meeting and said, actually, we've dealt with this, closed the office, made 2 members of staff redundant. This is where we're going.
Right.
So he brightened up no end because it must be a horrible conversation for an accountant.
Yeah.
And said, oh, that's all right. I see you've got it in hand, which we have, but it's been a very slow crawl back.
Yeah.
And I have to say that last year, I'd rather not admit this, but it's true. It was the first year we made a profit since lockdown.
Wow.
But it's been
Well
getting
done, though.
better and better and better.
Yeah.
And which is why we need to go to America. We can't have Rachel Reeve knocking this business out when we've just got to the state that it's in again.
Yeah. I mean, that's some resilience there, isn't it? I mean, that a lot of people see if you're employed, people have no idea the sacrifices that the owners of businesses make. You know, you always get paid last. It's such a, you know, you've got to believe in what you're doing when
Well,
nobody else
absolutely.
will.
You see, not only do I love what I do, which is one good reason for doing it, I could do other things that I love, I'm sure. But I see the difference it makes to thousands of women. That's important. And women come to the class for a more comfortable birth, and it most certainly delivers it. But those babies are different. If they're born without trauma, without stress, without drugs, people remark that there is something different about these babies. It's very difficult to define, but you know, there's something different. If I meet a mum who has had, you know, I've taught maybe a few years ago, and she will always say the same thing. Oh, he's such an easy child to get on with. He takes everything in her stride. She gets on with everybody. So I'm absolutely sure that how a child is born is going to affect them for the whole of their lives.
Yeah, it
Because
makes sense.
that's what I've seen. I don't have proof of it
Yeah.
because, you know, I can't follow them all and do a survey as much
Yeah.
as I would like to. But it's the most significant event in a person's life is their birth. It's one of the most significant events in a woman's life is giving birth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for many, many, it's a trauma. It's what you see on the movies. Most women get their education about birth from the movies, and it's always somebody screaming and writhing around in agony and lots of equipment and lots of medical interventions and loads of people in the room and flat on your back in bed, legs up in stirrups. So when women couples generally, fortunately, come to my course, that's their reality about birth. When I say the word birth, the picture in my mind is utterly different.
Right.
It's a woman in a birth pool, leaning forward, maybe her husband, partner, either supporting her or stroking her arms or something from outside, gently breathing, very boring to watch. It
Right.
would never make it to movies because it's so. I love boring births.
Yeah, I'm sure
And then
everybody
out
would love
pops
a
a
boring
baby.
birth. Yeah. So that's, I mean, coming from a conventional medical background,
Mm.
the I can imagine that you will have had some really challenging attitudes towards your approach from midwives, obstetricians. Um,
Well, midwives learn about it when they see a mum who's done it, and they're absolutely blown away. I've never seen anything like it. They
mm,
don't know how labour is progressing. They don't know what's going on. In principle, though we would never advocate confrontation, we advocate teamwork between mother and her caregivers. But in general, she's going to want less interventions. She doesn't want to be disturbed. She knows what she ought to be doing in her mind, in her body, and she wants to quietly get on with it, uh, which is a little bit confrontational for a midwife. But when they see the outcome, they cannot believe it.
mm,
I have never seen anything like that. So you don't have to sell it to a midwife. The mums sell it to the midwives, and then they want to know more because they do want to do their best for mums. And you see a mum giving birth like that, and they think, wow, that's
yeah.
amazing. Now, obstetricians seldom see that
Mm,
because in this country, obstetricians don't attend normal births. They're just there in emergencies.
mm.
And the sad thing about obstetric training and GP training, which I think is a massive lack, is that no doctor has ever seen a baby being born at home.
No, I haven't. I was born
No,
at home. I was dropped onto the lino on the kitchen floor.
well,
No, I wasn't
exactly.
actually. I've always thought I was, but I was born at home, but it wasn't onto the lino.
Well, that's a bit gentler, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, so doctors give advice to women about where to give birth, and they're advising about something about which they know absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I can see
And
that. Yeah.
obstetricians are petrified of home births because
Of course.
they're wonderful people, but they're surgeons and they're ever so good at doing a quick incision and getting a baby out,
Yeah.
and then they can get home for supper.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's not always that callous,
And if
but
you
it
can't
can be.
if you can't constantly assess the progress, then it's the fear of the unknown, and
Oh,
you know,
fear of
which,
the unknown—that's the biggie.
yeah, which is why I think in my head talking to you that, I mean, nowadays, and maybe it's been over the past 10 or 15 years, the birth plan philosophy of, basically ladies say what they want to happen, and it
Mm.
essentially happens unless something goes wrong. But
I'm not
quite,
sure that you're quite right when you say that, but
I
anyway,
know,
carry on.
yeah, for ease of argument. Um, Whereas conventionally, healthcare workers want to be able to assess regularly, want to be able to see what stage of labour you're at, and if
Yes,
if if there's a
you've got
something,
you've got the guidelines, haven't you?
you've got the
Check, check, check,
guidelines,
check, 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 check.
you've got the guidelines, yeah, and
I
so
always tell mums the guidelines are a checklist for their caregivers. They're not a set of rules that you have to follow.
yeah, and I suppose the other flip side of that is that women have been giving birth without medical intervention for centuries. So
And nobody is saying that medical intervention is never needed. That would be stupid. But I get accused of that sometimes, but absolutely not. Um, medical event. I mean, when did I last go to see my doctor for anything? I don't remember. I had a tiny bunion op about 20 years ago.
right, okay,
Before that, I think it was when I had my children,
right,
because I look after myself. I feel the National Health Service is actually the National Disease Service, and it's very, very good at what it does. But there are plenty of ways you can look after yourself, which means you don't need drugs or surgery, except in emergencies. You know, if I was in a car crash and I was scooped off the motorway, I'd be awfully grateful to be taken to hospital.
yeah,
You know, and it's the same with birth. Um, when I had my babies, I went to hospital because I thought that's what you do, because people do. In fact, I say I thought that's what you do. There wasn't one jot of thought that went into it.
right.
It's just what people do.
Hmm.
And I was very lucky, partly because I was young, partly because birth was a great deal less medicalized then than it is now. But that's what I do. And when I started the work I'm doing now, that was what I thought. And I have seen plenty of women have straightforward births in hospital, particularly in the birth centres, which are lovely. Um, and I had lovely birth reports, but I have ecstatic birth reports from women who give birth at home.
Right.
It's what
Yeah.
did you ever see anybody take their cat to the vet to have its kittens?
No.
Exactly. So that's what we do to women.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
We
And I
disrupt the
think,
whole process time and time again, and then we
yeah,
hope it'll be all right, and it won't.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's home birth is seems to be, I wouldn't say it's fashionable, but it seems to be a lot more people doing home birth nowadays.
It's
Certainly
a lot
from,
of women either who've done hypnobirthing, of which there are a fair number, or who have had such a traumatic experience in hospital, they say, I will never go near that place again.
mm,
And those are some of them. At the same time, the NHS, because it's short of midwives, many trusts are withdrawing the home birth service.
is that right?
Oh, yes. Legally, a woman has a right to give birth at home with proper support,
Mm,
but in practice, it can be difficult, which is why more women are free birthing, i.e., giving birth with no midwives, which is not something I would advocate, but I can perfectly well understand. And
yeah,
also because midwives are fed up with the bureaucracy and medicalization of the system, many midwives have resigned their PIN and will attend a home birth, not as a midwife. They call themselves birth support workers or something.
right, okay,
But technically she has free birth, but with
right,
somebody who's got all the knowledge.
right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the birth without a midwife immediately makes me kind of shift in my seat, that the thought of that.
No, it's not something I would advocate, but I can absolutely understand it.
Mm,
I have a colleague, a friend, and she's head of the birth centre and home birth at a big trust near Manchester. And I spoke to her a while ago. She said with enormous pride, any woman who wanted a home birth in our trust, we found a midwife for them. Sometimes we had to liaise with local trusts. Occasionally I went out by myself. But there was only one woman last year that we really couldn't give her what she wanted. But
mm,
most trusts will say, sorry, haven't got a midwife, got to come into hospital.
yeah,
Which,
yeah,
my way of thinking, and actually it would be a great deal easier for everybody, mother and the trust, if they put their focus on the home birth and sent out a midwife from a hospital rather than
yeah.
doing yet another cesarean.
Yeah, this whole thing's fascinating, really. And so, do you do one-to-one in hospital,
No,
service?
I
Do
don't go.
you have
I'm
that?
never at the birth. I teach the course in pregnancy
Mm,
because they get all the information they need. Hopefully, and almost all do, come with their partner. Um, because he's often the one that's frightened and wants her to go into hospital because it's fear of the unknown. Plenty of women say, "Oh, I'd love to have my baby at home," but he doesn't want me to.
yeah,
And
yeah.
because some women had said that to me, I stuck that one up on Instagram because I
Right.
thought, 750,000 women answered are being told by their husbands to go into the place where they're likely to have trauma and pain when actually instinctively they know what's the best thing to do.
Mm.
I
How
tell
do
them I'm
you?
very rude to men. I say, you're useless at giving birth, but what you're really good at is protecting her, because men instinctively do that for their partner, and your role is to protect her from anything negative during her pregnancy and birth. And you need to be well informed to do that. I mean, these men should be a massive um, help for midwives in the birthing room because they've sort of got an extra pair of hands.
Well, I think men are a bit of a spare part. They're like a spare bride at a wedding
No,
in
not when
these
they've done my
instances.
course. They're
Right.
not,
Okay. Yeah.
because they've spent since the course and to the birth. They've spent daily practice together, just 10 minutes, and it sees them come closer together. I think to start with, I think, oh, this is an awful chore we've got to do. And then after a little while, they begin to enjoy it.
Right.
And it brings them closer together. He knows he's been a useful part in how his child enters the world. And I think it deepens his relationship with that baby when he's born because he's been part of it, not, like most dads, a spare part at a wedding. It's so lovely. It's deeply significant in many different ways.
Yeah, I can understand that. Absolutely.
I'm sorry to rabble on about it when I'm supposed to be talking about business. I
No,
suppose.
it's fine. I mean, there's so much I mean, one thing that I'd like to understand a bit from, because this is the doctor in me coming out now, so forgive this, but
No, no,
how
no.
do you decide who's a good candidate for no interventive birth
Oh, we
technology,
don't just teach.
etc.?
I mean, we can teach this perfectly well to women who are going to have a cesarean for a perfectly good clinical reason,
Right.
like placenta previa. You know, for those who don't know what that is, it's a placenta's over the way out. The baby will never be born. Thank goodness there is an alternative method of getting into the world, and that baby can be born by cesarean. But you don't agree to a cesarean just because you want the baby to arrive in time for your mum to come over from Australia, which people do.
Oh, they do. Yeah, of course they do.
Because of the many and deep implications for that child that hasn't been born vaginally, mainly picking up the mother's microorganisms, which are the basis of its immune system gut flora as it comes into the world.
Yeah.
That's going to affect its health for the whole of its life. You can compensate to the best of your ability, but you can't 100% make up for it. And yet, 50% of our babies are being born that way at the moment.
What about high risk women that, because if everybody will have or they should have a midwife, and
Yes.
if anything is they're diabetic or the higher risk pregnancy might
Well,
have
some
twins
people,
or something
if
like that.
somebody is truly diabetic, their blood sugar is going through the roof, that is most definitely a risk factor. And the baby should either be induced in reasonable time, or it's going to be, I mean, not just a big baby, but dangerously huge, or a cesarean. I mean, I have a very lovely daughter-in-law who is diabetic, and she gave birth to her babies by induction rather than cesarean because she's a nurse. And she understood the benefit for her baby of being born vaginally, even though it was harder for her.
Right.
Because she knew it would have been much easier for her to have had a cesarean.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she fully understood. So, you see, how you set something up is how it tends to go. People will say at birth, well, things might happen. Well, yes, of course they might happen. But if you set it up well, it's more likely to go. Anything in life that's important, in general, we plan. You know, even something as simple as going on holiday. You don't just amble off to the airport and get on a plane and hope it'll take you to where you want to go, which is rather what women do when they give birth. Well, the pilot's well qualified, you know. Um, but you do a bit of research online. You talk to each other about what sort of holiday you would like to have. You may go to a travel agent, but your travel agent doesn't tell you what to do. You use the knowledge and experience of your travel agent to get to what you want.
Yeah.
And when you say birth plan, most people, women who write a birth plan, it's actually a wish list,
Yes.
not a
Yeah.
plan at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like my birth to go like this. I was speaking to a lady actually in California last week, and she'd had a traumatic birth, and she said, well, this is what I hope to have. And she said, sort of quick labor, more comfortable, no drugs, all this sort of thing. Don't want to be induced. Every woman says, I don't want to be induced, and yet 50% of them are. Why? Because they're told their baby's at risk if they don't agree, and a woman will do anything for the safety of her baby. Anyway, this lady told me what she wanted. She told me what she got, which was the exact opposite, as happens so often. So I said to her, well, what did you do to get what you wanted? And she said, well, it was so rushed in labour that I really couldn't. I, there's nothing I could have done. I said, no, that's not what I meant. I mean, what did you do in pregnancy to get what you wanted?
Mm.
Um, and it's not a concept that many people have.
Yeah. So
Anything
there was
important
no
in life
planning, as you say, up to.
is not a plan, it's a wish list.
Yeah.
You plan and you practice. A good example, of course, is an athlete. An athlete, however gifted, and women are perfectly made to give birth, um, they've pounded the track over roads for months and years in the early hours of the morning. They've practiced. They've probably have different racing shoes, different race strategies. They've got a trainer, a physio, a nutritionist, an admin person, a PR, but all these people around them. But when they go into the stadium to try to win this Olympic gold, they're on their own.
Mm.
But however gifted, they do not go into the stadium on their own. They're not going to win the gold medal unless they've gone through all that beforehand.
Yeah, great
I tell
analogy.
all my mums that because they've been at this class, their gold medal is their comfortable birth and their beautiful baby.
Yeah. So how many, do you know how many of your ladies that have, because presumably you teach everybody, including teaching the teachers, don't you?
Mm.
But how many of the people that have gone through your course that have got
I
on to give
can't
birth?
really say because the teachers have no idea how much they're teaching.
Mm.
And I am just starting, and I should have done it before, but it's just a matter of time of doing more surveys so
Right.
I can give more figures. The only one I know I did a survey a year or so ago was that we have half the national rate for cesareans,
Is that right?
people who've done
Okay.
our course.
Right.
We're doing a survey at the moment on whether women tear when they're giving birth.
Right.
I want to do one on the number of cesareans, which is more interesting to me. For women, it's more interesting to know if I'm likely to tear because nobody wants to do that.
Mm.
Um, so I will, and I maybe like you, I spend half my life being my own PA. I need a PA so badly, but it's not my highest priority at the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so it's all these surveys are on the to-do list. Quite well
of
may well
course.
actually happen. Have you
Yeah.
got a to-do list? Is it very long?
Oh, it was never ending.
Yes, exactly.
So it's honestly, I could talk to you for hours, but what's the kind of, you've alluded to it that America is quite big on your agenda for
Yes.
the future. How do you see and what are you doing to prepare? How do you see the future of KG hypnobirthing and in a 12-year, sorry, in a 12-month and then a 5-year type kind of time frame?
Well, I'm absolutely sure that that American website will be sufficient.
Right,
I'm slightly got my hands tied because we practically, and this has been an enormous battle to pay off a very expensive website, which was just being produced when we lost all our income.
right.
Um, I mean, they could have put us into liquidation, but there wouldn't be much point from their point of view because they wouldn't have got anything.
I mean, your website is phenomenal. I've had a good look through it. It's an
It's
interesting,
lovely.
something that I wanted to just to kind of, you planted a seed a while ago about how you're teaching your competition effectively.
Yes.
You are teaching the competition. So you've positioned your website as the original. And I've noticed that that's quite prominent that you are the original hypnobirthing
In the
as if,
UK, yes.
yeah, so people
Well,
know
you
that,
just have to stay one jump ahead, don't you?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if I was one jump ahead when I started, I just got to stay one jump ahead now. Lots of changes I would like to make to that website. We're nearly finished paying it off, but I can't make. For example, one of the things we both know is that a website should have uh, little videos on it.
yes,
I can look at my homepage and think of 6 little videos that I could make just like that.
mm,
But they've got to be put on my website.
yeah,
We've got to
yeah,
pay them to do it. And though they're nice people, and if we have a real problem with a website, if something goes down and nobody can book a course, they'll do it. But they won't do extras until we've paid the backlog, which is perfectly reasonable. But
mm,
it does mean that my hands are a little bit tied into how I can promote things, which is why social media is so important, because
mm.
that's me talking. Not
Yeah.
complicated. Time consuming, but not complicated. Mm.
Wonderful. Well, it's been phenomenal talking to you, Catherine. You and I
I've
are
had
going to
such
get to
fun.
know.
Thank
I
you.
know we're going to get to know each other quite well this year, which
We are, aren't we?
I'm going to really look forward to.
I think when I walk into a group and when I say I teach hypnobirthing, they're going to, what on earth is that woman doing here? All this hippie stuff, tree hugging hippies and that sort of thing. And people do. And, well, why shouldn't they? If you have a name like hypnobirthing, they'd expect that, wouldn't they?
But I don't know. I think I mean, that aside, the potential because of your um, not credibility. I mean, credibility, but also the length of time you've been operating, the
Mm-hmm.
foundations you've got with your social media and the hugely viral clips and things like that, and you've well known across even outside of the UK as well. You've really got some real fundamentals that you could
Exactly. And
do amazing things with. So from a business
I've worked
perspective,
hard.
it's
I think
really
I'm
exciting.
intelligent, but I don't quite know how to use it. That's where I need somebody to tell me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm
Well,
sure you said, how's it going to go this year? I think it's going to go boom.
and what
Um,
a great way to end the podcast that is. That is
you,
perfect.
you stopped me talking.
Not at all, but that was brilliant. Yeah, wonderful. Well, I have taken enough of your time, Catherine, but so
And
thank
yours.
you.
Thank you so much.